write it in polytechnics and different from the way you write it at university level. Likewise, the way you write it when you're undergraduate, there's something they do in some departments. In 300 level, they always do some mini projects before they now do their main project in 400 level. Now, all these projects differs in terms of what is expected of you, the content that you have in that project work. And in order to kind of exemplify what I'm talking about, I will be passing some projects down to you for you to see what exactly we are talking about. These are past projects of people that have been done initially. And just the preamble, I'm just giving you the preamble. There's still a presentation that will show and explain everything. The presenter will also come and explain it to you. But I want you to see the preamble of the project. This is a complete project. We will be having a different topic, but the topic I have here is question formation in career dialects, for instance. And it is a project from the linguistics department. But there are some other projects like, okay, see this one now, morphosyntactic studies of negative markers in Yoruba, comparative phonology of Yoruba and Yoruba languages. There are still other projects we have. I'm looking for something that I can relate to it, something that is relatable to everybody. Okay, see something like this, sense relations of Hausa words. Please help me bring some more projects now inside. So, I think there are still some other aspects. I don't want to base my studies or my conversation on linguistics alone. I want us to see other projects, other similar projects we have done before, and see what is prevalent. But basically, when you want to write a project, you don't start with the very first thing you see here. You don't start with it, because what you see here basically is always the introduction. It is not what you start with. They call it the front matter. The front matter is not what you see or what you begin with in a project. There are some things you really have to start with before. These ones, even though they are at the front of a project, like the final product of a project, it is at the end of the write-up that is when you actually do the front matter. Now, that being said, the very first thing they ask you to do is not even this second thing after the what they call it, after the front matter. It's not the chapter 1. And that is one of the differences that you used to know a lecturer, a teacher, and a supervisor. A supervisor is not expected to ask you a chapter 1 at the very beginning of your project. Rather, it will tell you to go and draft a proposal for undergraduate level. For postgraduate level, it will tell you draft a protocol. Now, there are samples of all this which you will also have access to that we will give you. But this is just to tell you that when you are starting your work, you don't start with this. This is going to be the end product, but this is not what is expected of you. Now, in the protocol or in the proposal, the very first things that you are going to be given to write on about the proposal is going to include, take for instance, the general introduction or general background to the study. The very first one, the general background to the study. Secondly, they will ask you the statement of the problem. And there's a video that I would like you to watch that would bring the last speaker. There's a video I would like you to watch that would have been done on YouTube before that explains this in details. It's also on our plate. Now, apart from the statement of problem, we have the aim and objectives of the study. The aim and objectives of the study. We'll still explain all this in details. Aim and objectives of the study. We have the research questions. The research questions being the next things. The research questions. After an organization of the study, the scope and organization of the study. We also have the limitations of the study. The limitations of the study. Furthermore, we have the introduction to the key terms and terminologies. Introductions to the key terms and terminologies. Introduction to the key terms and terminologies of the project. And we also have some other aspects like historical background, historical background of the study. We have, for people in the linguistic department, for instance, sociocultural profile of the speakers. Now, which kind of speakers? The language speakers themselves. It's a sub-point. And it varies from department to department. Some of your departments can say, okay, maybe the first 2 to 3 things, write it. And they always ask for one more thing. They ask for the content. You understand? The content, the table of content. That is going to write, that's where you are actually going to write all what is going to be encompassed in your chapters. Your chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 5. So in some departments we have gotten to work with some departments whereby the lecturers just say, write general background, write a statement of problem, aim and objectives, research questions, and finish up with limitations of the study. Some may say, okay, write all those that I mentioned before and add content to it. All these things are quite the same, whether you're writing a proposal for the graduate, a protocol for postgraduate. But for postgraduate, it is much more lengthy. You understand? What they would naturally expect from an undergraduate project when you're writing general background to the study is you should write at least half a page or at most a page. You understand? But in the postgraduate project, if you are writing your general background and you don't write 2 to 3 pages, you are not writing anything. Do you understand? You must write, it must be lengthy, it must be well explanatory, it must be detailed. Because what you are expected to do in the postgraduate is more than the graduate level or the undergraduate level on the source. In your proposal, be sent into the introduction. No numbers there initially. There are no numbers. This is going to be written in your proposal so that they will see it. Is from your proposal, your supervisor will see it and now see, okay, is this enough? Is this okay for your project to go on, or do you still need to add more? A good supervisor will tell you what exactly you need to do when you are giving them your proposal. Do you understand? So that being said, I said on the sub and the Wi-Fi, the angle of your project writing. That is not working. Use another phone to record.